Tell me all about Aislynn.
Really, she's a rotten baby. I mean, she's always been a rotten baby, even from when she was like born. She used to before her crisis that like took away all of her abilities. She if we were like doing dishes or something, getting in our dishwasher, she would come over and like start throwing all of the silverware out. She would go through like laundry. She's bad. I don't know. She just would always do things that was just, she was always suspicious. I don't know. Or like if me and my husband were talking, we're like, oh no, where's Aislynn? Like, I don't know. She was always into something. So we kind of missed that about her because we didn't realize it, but her doing that before, it really is a blessing. You know, if your kids can make a mess, that's amazing that your kids are able to make that mess, you know?
Hey, Aislynn. I'm really happy I get to be here and be your friend today.
This is what I mean when I say she's a bad baby. This is the stuff that I...
So you think that was intentional?
Yes. I think that she can't communicate. So she has ways of doing things. I'm so glad she did that. That makes me so happy. Sorry that she burped in your face.
Well,
but
Aislynn, I'm a bit of a rebel myself. So I will respond to you by saying...
Yeah, I see you moving your mouth.
So her moving her mouth right there, is that communicating to me?
I think so.
And I see her arm moving a little. Is it okay if I...
Yes, you are good.
Hey, this is me. I'm Chris. I'm here to be your friend. Thank you for squeezing my hand.
Is she squeezing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
She gave me a little squeeze, and I see you moving your mouth. Just don't burp at me again.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Go ahead and burp at me again. I love a good prank.
I love how she's got such good eye contact with you right now.
Yeah, you're doing a great job of being my friend. And I'm really happy I'm spending time with you. You're really cool. You're really funny. I think it's so funny you burped in my face. What's it like for you to see her tracking and interacting with somebody?
It's progress. You know, she didn't do that 2.5 years ago. So that to me says that, you know, those neural pathways can be healed, mended. They might not necessarily work how they did before, but I just feel like that's neuroplasticity right there, in the making. So it's progress, and it makes me excited to see how therapies are going to change her, you know, down the road.
Tell me all about your daughter.
I mean, it's Aislynn. She's 3 years old. She's awesome. She's the light of our world, honestly. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. You know, it was before her crisis. You know, we were very big on planning things and, you know, trying to figure out, you know, what we're going to be doing in a few months, the next year, the next 5 years, and you know, her crisis and, you know, our whole lives changing so fast. It really put things into perspective, you know, in the aspect of like, you know, taking things hour at a time, minute at a time, some, you know, day at a time at the most. You know, it's you know, you also realize that, man, your life can change so fast.
How old was she when she had her crisis?
She was 13 months, about to turn 14 months old.
What was the crisis?
So her crisis, it's called a metabolic crisis. With Aislynn, her blood sugar dropped. We don't know why her blood sugar dropped at that point. Like typically it could be, we think it was because she was fasting overnight. Like kids with Tango 2, they shouldn't be without nutrition for so many hours. Also like a virus, seizures, any kind of stress on the body can trigger a crisis. So we think for Aislyn's that it was, she wasn't eating overnight, but nobody really eats overnight while you're sleeping. But Tango 2 kids can't have that interval off like nutrition.
What is Tango 2?
Tango 2 is a gene that we all have, and it's located on the 22nd chromosome. So, you know, like back to like high school, you know, have the cell. The center is the nucleus. All of your DNA is inside like that center nucleus. And on the 22nd chromosome, there's there's like 6,000 genes on the 22nd chromosome, and one of those is the Tango 2 gene. And Aislynn, on her Tango 2 gene itself, hers is missing exon 3 through 9.
How would you explain her crisis and what happened to somebody who doesn't have a great medical understanding?
I mean, she has a rare disease that affects her entire body because it's in her DNA. And being that it's in her DNA and it's affecting every single cell in her body, it can come at you like a brick wall sometimes, and it's, and I mean, her crisis, it was so fast, like literally in the period of just a few hour long nap. And she went from standing up, jumping up and down her bed that morning to practically on her deathbed.
And I see Aislynn moving her mouth a lot. Is that something she'll do if nobody else is around, or is that something she only does?
No, she doesn't move her mouth if no one else is around. Oh, hey, you're safe. That was just like a little seizure. But sometimes I feel like when she's really like concentrating, it can cause her to have a seizure. So I think she's really like intentional with listening to you, looking at you. That takes a lot from her brain. You hear mommy talking? I see you looking at me. Good job. Good looking.
Yeah, and I'm here too. I'm Chris. And I think you're amazing. Aislynn was born with this rare genetic disorder, which was responsible for her crisis.
Right.
That led to a brain injury?
Right. Yeah, she, with her crisis, her blood sugar dropped. So she was fasting overnight. My husband gave her some food that morning, but we think her blood sugar may have already started to drop overnight. But she was fine that morning. She was standing up in her crib. She ate breakfast at her high chair. She was sitting normally, using her hands like she normally would. Talking. She was only talking, she would say like mama, dad, stuff like that, but she was being verbal, like a normal baby her age would. And then when my husband went to lay her down for her nap, which we do every day, at that 3-hour mark, he went in to wake her up from it, and she wouldn't wake up. She was unconscious. She was still breathing at that point, but when my husband went to like lift her up, he could just tell that something was wrong. Her body was like completely limp.
As soon as I went to pick her up, that was when I knew something was very wrong. It was, I mean, if I had to imagine what it felt like to hold a dead child, that's what it felt like.
But she seems very awake and aware. So if she is actually like, I don't know, there's a difference between her eyes being open and her actually being aware. Oh, you are safe.
Was that a seizure?
Yes, that's a seizure. You are safe.
What are the different types of seizures she does have?
So this is a pretty big one.
Okay, is there anything that she needs, or?
No, she'll just go through it. But she might start screaming. So she is fine. Hold on. You are safe. You're safe. You're safe. Just watch your face, because sometimes she does throw a punch.
Okay.
You're safe.
How do you hope other people respond if she has a seizure when interacting with her peers or friends?
Don't freak out, because it's normal for her now. And I know a lot of people aren't familiar with it, and it looks scary, but she does this every day, multiple times a day. So, and she typically recovers pretty fast. So she might look like she's uncomfortable, but I mean, probably within the next minute, it's like nothing happened. So yeah, just don't freak out. There's no need to call like an ambulance or anything. She'll recover. It's just her brain, like something's going on in her brain, and it's just not like sending those signals right. So her brain just kind of like basically short circuits, and it makes her body, do these movements that aren't intentional.
And I've met and been with many children when they've had seizures, and I've always found the best thing to do is kind of model what the parent's doing.
Yeah.
If the parent's calm, then there's no reason for me to freak out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we always say, I don't know why I started saying this, but I always say you're safe during a seizure. I don't say you're okay, because, I don't know, same with my other daughter. Like, I don't know if she's okay. She might not feel okay, and I don't want to invalidate how she's feeling, so I always just say, you're safe, because she is safe. You might be having a seizure, and you might not know what's going on, but mommy's got you. I know what to do. I can take care of you, so you're safe. Yeah, you're safe. And she's fine now. So she recovers pretty pretty quick.
Yeah, and I can tell she came out of the seizure and she's moving her mouth just like she was prior to the seizure.
Yeah, and her heartbeat is back to normal because during a seizure her heart does start to race. But I'll say I'm good. I am good. Yeah.
Well, I'm just so glad and happy I get to be here with you today.
Yeah.
Things are different now than they were before, but we still think we see some of her rotten side and stuff. How she was before her crisis and all that. It's hard to tell, and obviously, you ask any doctor or anything like that, they you don't get any straight answers from anybody, So, but we do believe there's some of her still in there that we get to see.
A normal blood sugar, like for an adult, is like, I would say above 90, between like 90 and 120. Aislyn's is always around 107, but for hers was less than 10, which most people that have a blood sugar that low, I mean, they're either already dead or they're very close to dying. So her brain was being deprived of that oxygen for that time because she wasn't getting any oxygen into her cells, so it was depriving her brain of all the nutrients. So yeah, it was basically just, killing all of her brain cells little by little until they started pumping her full of glucose and getting her blood sugar back up.
What happened after this brain injury?
She was basically in a coma-like state for 2 weeks, about 2 weeks. And then we were trying to get her like seizures under control, because when you have a traumatic brain injury like that, there's consequences. And your brain, it's harder to heal than like a cut on your finger. So they basically put her in like a coma-like state to allow her brain to rest and give her cells the best fighting chance to revive themselves. Unfortunately, her brain hasn't really changed that much. They've actually seen the opposite, where she's experiencing some cell death of her brain. But we're not sure if it's still happening. We won't know until she gets another brain MRI if it's like continuing to get worse, or if it'll get better or stay the same.
Hey, you're safe, honey. You're safe. She's having a seizure right now. Hey, you're okay.
What's it like for you when she has a seizure?
We've unfortunately we've gotten very used to them. Especially being that, it's a daily thing for her. Never in my life have I dealt with anybody ever having a seizure before her, and like I said, it's a daily thing. She came out of that one pretty quick, and she's kind of still in it a little bit.
Did the seizure start rapidly after the brain injury? Did she experience them prior to?
No seizures beforehand. It was. Hey, you're all right. You're good. But no, yeah, it was. It's mainly from the brain injury that she has the seizures now.
She lost everything. She lost her ability to talk, to walk, to eat, to sit. Really everything. She's gained a couple things back. This is kind of what she does now. Which she's the best snuggler, so I'm not complaining. But she needs a lot of support. If she's sitting, she has to be either in like a special adaptive seat that gives her the best like trunk control. Her neck control is pretty poor, so she can't hold her head up by herself. But it is improving. Right when she got out of the hospital, she had to wear a neck collar because they were worried that because she was so floppy that. So this right here, this is her. She's having like a dystonic movement. It's called like an ATNR reflex. And this is just because of her brain damage. So it doesn't necessarily mean that she's in pain. It's just how her brain is working right now. Sometimes I feel like she's in pain, but she's okay right now.
What have doctors communicated to you about how her brain was impacted?
She has brain damage all over her brain. It's not in any any certain location or pinpointed towards a specific lobe or anything like that. It's everywhere, which is tough in the aspect of, there's not many therapies and treatments for brains, but it being everywhere does not help, even if there was a treatment per se, because a lot of times they tend to be tailored towards specific areas of the brain, or if you have damage in your frontal lobe, they can just target that, but it's everywhere, front, back, side, middle, all of it. So she has a lot of, I think it's diffusion in her gray matter and stuff, and they still don't know whether it's progressive or not. And that is something that, kind of leans on us a lot and weighs heavy.
How have you learned to process that?
It's it's been tough. I mean, I grew up a pretty rough childhood. So, it kind of has hardened me in some aspects, emotionally and mentally and things like that. So, I mean, the whole thing, hit me and my wife very hard. But yeah, it was tough because, going through this whole situation, I had a little bit of anxiety beforehand and stuff. Nothing where I was on medicines. I wasn't seeking treatment. It wasn't that bad, but going through the experience we went through, that was the first time in my life where I was like, I have to do something, and it was me and my wife both tried our best to prioritize our mental health after that, because for both of us, the anxiety was off the charts. The depression was off the charts. I hate to even say it, but me and her both, and we've talked about it openly with each other. There's times where you're like, why am I here? Is this worth it? Should I keep myself here? If you know what I mean. That's a tough conversation to have with yourself, even your spouse, to even open up and say that to them, and we've both talked about it. We've been very open with each other, about how we're feeling and stuff. And
I'm assuming you held it in for a bit before opening up, but
yes.
What was it like when you finally opened it up?
It's definitely, relief for sure, but especially for a man, men, it's very typical of men of holding emotions in and things like that. So, but it was such a traumatic experience that, if I didn't open up about it, who knew what was going to happen? It would have just built up inside. And, I've talked to a therapist about that before, and, and they, it's a bad thing to do, let it just dwell. As stubborn as we can be sometimes, and as much as you don't necessarily want to talk about it, you need to, you need to get it out there, whether it be to your spouse, a family member, a friend.
Are you combing sister's hair?
Yeah. Don't you love your sissy?
Did Aislynn reach over and touch her hair?
Yeah. She's still doing it. She keeps
Yeah, you
grabbing
touching
her
your
hair.
sister, huh?
Oh, good, she's looking too. Ooh, here, let me scoot you back a little bit.
Does Aislynn always reach out and tickle you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she tries.
She tried.
What do you think when she does that? That's so silly.
Because she likes it.
How would you describe Aislynn's relationship with her sister Adelaide?
They were in separate rooms, right by each other, but they had their own bedrooms. This just happened a few weeks ago. Adelaide was like, I want to be in the room with my sister. That way, when she wakes up in the middle of the night crying or something, I can get there before you all to help comfort her, And even to the point where I think it was last week, she was sleeping in the same bed with her, and here lately, the last couple of months, she's been waking up probably 10 times a night, just crying, screaming and stuff. And, and you'd look on the baby monitor, and like her sister would already have her hand on her chest, just like trying to calm her down, trying to comfort her. And then even as far as Adelaide has determined what she wants to do with her life already, that she wants to be a doctor, and that she's going to cure Tango 2.
Adelaide, is there anything special about your sister?
Yes.
What is special about her?
Getting hugs to her, and I like sleeping with her, or like sharing toys with her, and that, and my daddy and mommy and my sister and my cat Ariel and my dogs, and we love to snuggle
Yeah.
a lot, and it's because I just
That was a good answer.
love my whole family.
Oh, well, that was nice.
You're doing so amazing. Thank you for answering my question. You're doing a great job. You get an A+. I'm a teacher, and I give you an A+. My next question for you. I heard you wanted to sleep in the same room as your sister. Why did you want to sleep with her?
Because I love her.
I'm gonna cry. I better leave. That was nice.
What is your biggest hope for Aislynn?
I hope that she is happy. I really honestly, I could care less if she walked one day or if she talked one day. I just would really like to know that that she's happy. You know, you always want your kids to be happy, or just to feel how much you love them. I would love it if Aislynn knew that I was her mom. I don't know if she remembers me, and that kind of bothers me sometimes, but I would just like to know that she's happy.
Are you aware of how much she understands?
People always tell me that, like, oh, of course you're her mom. Kids never forget their mom, but neurologically, I don't know if she knows that I'm her mom. You know, I don't know if there's a difference in if I'm holding her or somebody else is holding her. So I don't know.
What is it like to not know what Aislynn's thinking or how much she's perceiving?
Honestly, I haven't really thought about that. I would say it's difficult, because I would like to know what she's thinking. Like with my daughter Adelaide, if she's throwing a tantrum, I can be like, okay, what are you feeling right now? Are you sad? Are you hungry? Do you go potty? You know, there's things that you can kind of ask, but with Aislynn, we can't. So it's just kind of like a checklist that we have to do. Yeah, I would say it's hard, but I also am just so grateful that she's alive, that I try not to let myself go to that, like, negative space, but it's hard not to. So we really try to just focus on the positive, I would say.
Aislynn, thank you for hanging out with me and spending some time together. I had a lot of fun with you. And you know what? Even thank you for burping in my face. That was pretty funny. You're silly. You're a prankster.
Are you rolling your eyes?
And the last thing I have to say to you is...
You're rotten.
She seems to be really listening, and she looks a little happy.
Yeah, she does. That's like, sometimes, like, she doesn't necessarily smile, but her eyes look happy.
I could tell.
Yeah. I'm glad that you could see that too.